Welcome back into the News Hour. By now, you've probably heard the name Gabby Petito, a missing woman found murdered, whose story has captured the attention of millions. But even here on the local level, people go missing every day and don't always get the same coverage. I sat down with one local mother whose daughter's remains weren't found until 2 years after she went missing, and she tells us why she thinks her story didn't get the same kind of attention. Take a look. Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. Two household names and a story that's captured the nation's attention. But what about the stories that most of us don't hear about? What makes them different and why? Take the case of Christine Cechini from right here on Delmarva.
Christine was a very outgoing, outspoken young woman, a really good mom, single mom. You know, there were issues like with any single mom. I mean, she wasn't perfect. She was by far not perfect, but she was a good-hearted person. She would do anything for you.
Cechini went missing in 2007, and for 2 years, her family was left waiting for closure. That's until her remains were found in Snow Hill. Cechini's mother, Lynn Dodenhoff, says she feels that over those 2 years, police weren't taking her daughter's disappearance seriously. That's why Dodenhoff took to MySpace, but back then, social media wasn't what it is today. Instead of a campaign of retweeting and sharing information about her missing daughter, Dodenhoff was looking for that information herself.
I saw Christine playing on MySpace, and so I figured, well, this is the way you got to go. So when she went missing, I learned how to do it. And then it's like a mom network. You just reach out to different people, and they tell you different things.
Dodenhoff says as those 2 years went on, it became all too clear that perception is key to how different cases are handled. She says one investigator even called her daughter a, quote, sponge on society because she didn't have a steady work history.
Before we found Christine, there was a body found in Pocomoke, and it belonged to a prostitute, okay? And that same person that told me about my daughter being a sponge on society, I asked him, I said, is this my daughter? He goes, no, you don't have to worry about that's not her. I said, are you sure? He goes, she's an undesirable.
Undesirable. It's a far cry from how other victims like Petito have been portrayed.
Good family, you know, well liked by the community, you know. It's all perception of what somebody is.
Yeah.
You know, I think that gets the attention.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if Christine had come from means and, you know, she was well respected in the community, I think, you know, a lot of things would have been done differently.
And Dodenhoff might be right about things being done differently. As Worcester County Sheriff Matt Crisafulli explains it, sometimes media attention can make or break a case and push investigators to dig deeper.
There are times when maybe that one person hears someone talking about the case, or just that one person can put a vehicle or a suspect at a scene, and that can ultimately break a case and bring it to a successful closure.
But Sheriff Crisafulli also says while media exposure can help to find those missing pieces, it isn't very useful if each case isn't covered in the same way.
I really can't answer why they would pick one case over another. All missing persons cases are the utmost importance for law enforcement agencies.
Dodenhoff says the biases that she thinks certain investigators could have carried with them throughout her daughter's investigation might have something to do with that. And she says it's not just socioeconomic status or reputation that could stand in the way of justice being served.
How many people of color go missing?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, you go to the NamUs, there's like the amount of people on there, you know, that are missing. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Those disparities are exactly why Dodenhoff says she won't ever stop telling her daughter's story or the stories of others at risk of being forgotten.
It's never been about me. It's been about changing the way people think about somebody. I mean, there's somebody's, somebody loved that person.
Now, it is important to note here that this issue is especially pressing for people of color and Indigenous folk. According to U.S. Census Bureau data, nearly 40% of all missing persons cases involve people of color, but African Americans only make up 13% of the U.S. population. And for Indigenous women, those statistics are only more discouraging. Indigenous women and girls are murdered 10 times more than all other ethnicities. That's according to Native Women's Wilderness, a national organization that advocates for Indigenous women and girls. For more information and resources for missing and exploited people, head to our website. That's 47abc.com.